Hey, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a genuinely fascinating paradox. We live in this world that's just completely obsessed with hustle culture and grinding 24/7, right? But we're going to break down exactly why trying too hard is actually, very often, the exact reason we fail. We're going to blend some ancient Taoist philosophy with modern psychology to show you how you can literally achieve more by doing less. I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive, but stick with me, because by the end of this, it's going to make perfect sense. Let's jump right into a frustration I think we've all felt. Have you ever rehearsed a speech like 100 times? You know every single word backward and forward, only to get up on stage and just completely blow it? Or maybe you tried to impress someone, and the harder you tried to be charming, the more incredibly awkward you became? We do this all the time. We force things, only to watch our intense efforts just completely backfire on us. And honestly, this perfectly illustrates the real issue at play here. It is almost never a lack of physical readiness or preparation. Your knowledge isn't the problem. The real culprit is the mental block. It's your own mind getting in the way, trying way too hard to analyze, control, and intellectualize the entire situation. That overstriving, that is exactly what tanks our natural execution. Now, this whole overthinking thing, it's really not a new phenomenon. Enter Lao Tzu. He was this legendary Chinese philosopher from way back around the 5th or 6th century BC, and he wrote a mysterious little masterpiece called the Tao Te Ching. It's essentially a manual for living and leading, and he observed this exact human quirk thousands of years ago, our tendency to get so utterly lost in our own intellect that we forget the natural way of doing things. We just end up swimming against the current and exhausting ourselves. So, to really understand his solution, we first need to grasp the core concept of his philosophy, the Tao. Translated simply as the way, it is this overarching, mysterious force that drives absolutely everything in the universe. The absolute crucial takeaway here, we cannot intellectualize or muscle our way through the Tao. No way. We can only move with it or against it. It does its work without ever rushing, and aligning yourself with it is basically the ultimate cheat code for life. Okay, so how do we actually achieve that harmony in our day-to-day lives? Well, the answer is Wu Wei. It translates to non-action or effortless action. But hold on, don't misunderstand this. It absolutely doesn't mean just sitting on the couch and being lazy. Think of it more like sailing. Instead of furiously rowing against the water until your arms fell off, you're strategically adjusting your sails to catch the wind. It's about flowing along with the Tao instead of fighting it tooth and nail. Lao Tzu summarized this beautifully. He said, "Those who are stiff and rigid are the disciples of death. Those who are soft and yielding are the disciples of life." This ancient wisdom just perfectly captures the essence of Wu Wei. Choosing softness over hardness isn't a weakness. It's actually the ultimate survival strategy. Think about it. The rigid branch snaps in the wind, but the flexible willow bends and survives. And we see this principle actively at work today, especially in modern business. Just think about overly controlling managers. They genuinely think their constant meddling and micromanagement is helping, but it actually disrupts the natural workflow and creates all sorts of bottlenecks. Great leaders, on the flip side, lead from a place of non-action. They trust a self-governing process, they intervene rarely, and they just let the talent do its thing. Imagine the immense amount of time and energy you'd save by adopting that trusting attitude. This whole concept of non-intervention really extends everywhere. The brilliant philosopher Alan Watts actually pointed out that society's goody-goodies often cause the absolute most trouble. Why? Well, because they try to aggressively enforce their own rigid, artificial ideas of how the world should be onto a vastly complex universe. Our relentless need to constantly intervene, control, and fix things, it usually just spawns a whole bunch of brand new problems. Now, this ancient philosophy maps perfectly onto modern peak performance, what we nowadays call being in the zone. Just listen to this incredible quote from NBA legend Bill Russell, describing his experience on the court. He said it was almost as if they were playing in slow motion, where he could sense exactly how the next play would develop and where the next shot would be taken. He wasn't thinking, he completely merged with the act itself. To achieve that kind of flawless, instinctive execution, Taoism suggests we must become the uncarved block. Philosopher Dr. Wu Shang explains this as escaping our intellectual presence. Basically, it means dropping your assumptions, dropping your labels, and dropping your ego so you can engage with the world from a state of crystal clear openness. The sheer boldness required here is massive. It takes incredible courage to drop your preconceived notions and just respond authentically to reality as it happens.
Seriously, just think about the striking difference between these two mental states. When you are actively trying, you're trapped in this exhausting pressure cooker of mental strain, analysis paralysis, and ruminating about past failures. It's heavy. But in a flow state, that reflective self-consciousness vanishes entirely. Your sense of time alters. Action and awareness merge so completely that, metaphorically speaking, the dancer literally becomes the dance.
And what's truly amazing here is that modern science absolutely backs up this 2,500-year-old philosophy. Leading psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the godfather of flow state research, actually identified the exact force that hijacks our effortless action. He calls it psychic entropy. Basically, it's a state of inner disorder and chaos in the mind. It proves scientifically that the relentless chatter, the worry, the creations of our own minds, that is what ultimately disrupts our natural ability. Let's get very specific here so you can spot this in your own life. Are you experiencing the symptoms of psychic entropy right now? Maybe your attention is totally scattered. You find yourself lingering in the past, or you're constantly worrying about the future. Or maybe your action and awareness are totally separated by this massive information overload. If any of this sounds familiar, your overly controlling mind is actively keeping you out of the present moment. And the present moment is exactly where real achievement happens. So, how do we fix it? We go right back to Lao Tzu's foundational wisdom. Mastery of the world is achieved by letting things take their natural course. Now, letting go of the reins is incredibly difficult for our analytical, control-freak brains. I totally get it. But the evidence, bridging ancient Eastern philosophy and modern Western psychology, is overwhelmingly clear. Releasing your mental strain and just letting the process breathe is the definitive requirement for mastering literally any endeavor without burning yourself out. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a very direct, somewhat provocative thought. Mastering the art of Wu Wei, the true art of not trying, ultimately boils down to a single binary choice. You trust or you don't. Because in trust, there is absolutely no trying. So, which will you choose? Thank you so much for exploring this wildly fascinating topic with me. Take a deep breath, stop forcing it,